Nice to have an expert in the room. Awesome. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. See, okay, there's Ann Hutchison is there. Olive has her camera off. Kate McDonald, Brenda Petro, Alyssa Town, and Karen Reifler. So they are going to be able to see what we're doing today. This is also, Jen has given us permission to record this, so we'll put this on it'll be our first YouTube. Woohoo! So, hi Melissa. Okay, so, all right, I've spent enough time on that. All right, so so is Pam here? Oh, she's not coming tonight. Okay, so those of you who have socks, are you taking them? Oh, Sarah Beth. Sarah Beth is taking the socks. So if you just put them in the back corner, then we'll take care of those. All right, I wanted to remind you all that applications for the Spirit Award are due at the retreat, which is the August meeting. And what did I say? This is where, it's falling apart. Okay, so at the picnic in August, the Spirit Award applications are due. I think she has a couple, but there are a lot of people in the Guild who deserve that award. So I wanted to remind you about the archive visit. How many spots do we have left? Okay, there are 6 spots left. It's $10 to go to the Grand Rapids Museum archive. So if you wanna, you can give Catherine that money or just let her know that you wanna be there and send it to her, whatever. Then there is the picnic that is August the 12th. And we are going to be doing some ice dyeing. So, and we have some materials that we're going to provide. You do need to bring a bucket or some kind of plastic container that you do not use for food. It can have had food in it, but you can never put food in it again. So we do want people to sign up. There is also a way to sign up online, but I'm going to pass this around so we get as many signatures as we can today. And you'll be getting more information about that as the time goes on. Okay, also for retreat, there are 2 things here for retreat. This is if you want to stay overnight. We have 6 spots left to stay overnight, is that right? Okay, 6 spots left, but we decided we're going to open it up to commuters. We're only going to take 6. So take one of these papers and fill it out, add up your total because you get to pick what meals you're going to choose and, are you going to have lunch or dinner? We assumed that, well, anyway. So you cannot bring lunch or dinner to the site. You can go out for lunch or dinner, but you can't bring food in, except for we can bring in a few snacks, right? Okay, so I'm going to pass that around too. Just take one if you need one. Okay, so Dawn, you're on.
Never give me a microphone because it's dangerous. Couple things coming up in October, 7th or the 9th, a Tuesday or a Thursday. We are tentatively planning a train trip from Kalamazoo into Chicago for the day to go to the dumpster dive. And I just found another fabric store, the new Rainbow Fabric Store, which is not too far from Fishman's Fine Fabrics. The plan is to go in the morning, and we'll get there about 10 or 11 because there's a time change. We'll do Uber, groups of 4 or 5 for Uber to the discount fabric warehouse, and we'll have lunch. We'll do the other 2. We'll do as much as we can and then come back, in the evening, afternoon. I think the last train out is 4 or 5, and it gets into Kalamazoo about 7:30 or 8. And then you would have to either carpool or drive from Kalamazoo to your home. If you are interested, we will have a sign-up sheet for interest at the picnic. The cost depends on how many people go. If we get 8 people under one reservation, the tickets go to half off, 60% off. If we go with a group of 15 or more, the cost is going to be around $45 round trip, but we all get to ride in the same car. So those are some decisions we have to make, and any input that you have would be good. And I'm glad to take that input from y'all. June 24th at Horrocks at 1 is our planning meeting for the year's meetings. As far as our guest speakers, I need people who have good ideas and maybe people that they know. I am looking for hostesses for the evenings that we have our meetings. So if you would like to do a hostess position, that's easy, not too much work. If you would like to find someone to do a presentation or do the contracts and contact people that will do presentations, we'd appreciate any help that we can get. That is at Horrocks, which is on the corner of 44th and Breton. And we'll, they have free coffee and it's a fun place to be. And what did I miss? 1 to 3, couple hours. And I think that was it. It is a great place for lunch, and they have treats of all manner and kind. So it seemed like there was something else, but I digress.
Well, if we come up with something, we'll let you know. Oh, yes. So Dawn is really good at coming up with great people to have at our meetings. And she is, very energetic about finding some, and very creative about getting us to do things. So I asked her, I'm like, would you like me to try to find somebody to take the newsletter away from her so she can focus on what she's really good at? And so we are in need of a newsletter editor. It's not, because you don't have to have it, it doesn't get actually printed. It's just a matter of putting this email together. I can help you create your, create a template so that you just dump stuff in there. Other people write things and give them to you. They send you pictures of things that they've done. So, but we do need somebody who's willing to do that. So you do need to have a computer, and you need to not be afraid of it. So, well, yeah, it's easy. Yes, apples are a little harder for me. I can't help very well with those because I don't have a lot of experience with them. But if you do, then knock your socks off. So we do need a newsletter editor. So the last thing I'm going to send around is the sign up for show and tell, so we know how many show and tell people we have. And here's a pen for that. Okay, so help yourself to the lemonade, water, and cookies. And so I'm going to now introduce our, yes. Oh, I probably have them. Okay. All right. I'll bring them out and see if we can. All right. I'll do that. Anyway, we are so thrilled to have with us Jennifer Stern-Haseman, who's going to talk to us about fitting pants, which to me is like one of the hardest. Pants and sleeves are the hardest things for me to fit. So I'm excited to have her. I have watched a lot of her videos. A couple people have taken classes from her at National. So please give Jen a warm welcome from the Grand Rapids Sewing Guild. Sorry, guys. Once she gets it on, you won't have that.
Oh, this is so fancy. How do I look? Is that good?
Put some bling on the top.
I know. I have a big mouth, but also, yeah. All right, so I want to start out by saying that one of the reasons why I love teaching at ASG chapters is the community. So, you know, when Rita was passing the mic around, like who's new, who's joined, who's not a member, I just thought that was so, I don't know, so sweet. So you guys are a wonderful group, and I'm very happy to be here. And we're going to talk about pants. What? Oh dear. Okay. All right. All right, so you can take notes, but what I had this brainstorm at dinner. I taught a class, and when we were planning this talk, I was going to do this as a slideshow, my efficient workflow for pants fitting. So I decided what I'm going to do is I taught that as a freebie for a podcast a month or two ago. So I'm going to send Rita the link to that class so you can have the class. So I'm not going to do the slides here. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about will be in that slideshow. And if you want to go back and remind yourself or watch it again or whatever it is, I'm going to send you that link because I think that will take some pressure off from people who have their pens revved up. But if you want to take lots of notes, go ahead. So this is going to be, when I first started teaching pants fitting, you have to start somewhere, right? So I started out working at a sewing store, and I learned the Palmer and Pletch, right? And I worked with that for a little bit, but I wasn't thrilled with how many adjustments I needed to make after I did all the fussing with the tissue and making a muslin and then still having to fit it further. So I switched to muslin fitting. So I would teach my classes for jeans and pants with all the sizes sewn up as they come out of the envelope, and then I would identify the different things we needed to change. And I did that for a while, and it was very successful. And my big thing was, which I think we all can agree, the crotch shape is something that's the thing you need to really think about. And when Rita said, well, pants and sleeves are the hardest things, well, they're the hardest things because they're the hardest things for the same reason. They're both, you have hinge, right? So like under your arms, you have a hinge, and if it's not in the right spot, you can't move your arm or you get wrinkles or whatever. And in pants, the crotch seam is a hinge as well. So it is very interesting, like when I'm fitting, bodice fitting, a lot of the things I think about are what I think about when I'm thinking about pants. So I did a lot of muslin fitting, and then, is that better? Is it better? No? Is that better? No? Okay. What's the matter? When it was loud? Maybe it just needed to be farther from my mouth, but I could talk louder. All right. So I tried, but I still wasn't happy because I would find students that I'd look at their muslin and I just couldn't figure it out. Every now and then, right? I'd get a certain shape. So I tried crazy things, like I bought that sticky tape that had the inches on it, and I plastered it all over my body, my legs, and then I plastered it all over my pattern to see if I could quantify by measuring, right? Measuring across, measuring vertically. And that really was very short-lived. That did not work. The next thing I tried was, If you measure your upper thighs with your legs together, then you measure one leg and subtract out the single leg from the two legs, what's left over is the inner thigh. I tried that. And that worked. For some people, it depended on how the shape of their leg and how much of a curve was not being caught by the measurement. So I'm only telling you these things because I've tried almost everything under the sun to fit pants. And I've come to my final method. I mean, I had a little adventure with top down, center out. And when that whole method came out, I drank the Kool-Aid. I was like, oh my goodness, here is something that you can do to fit pants and the crotch doesn't matter, right? And I tried it really hard. I tried it like an Olympic sport. And what ended up happening was it works great in two situations. If you're making pants that are wide leg and trouser style where the crotch is not up against you, you can fit a pair of pants using top down, center out method exclusively, and it's beautiful. Or if you happen to find a pattern where the crotch shape agrees with your shape and it's a snugger fitting pattern, then it also works. I ran into trouble when I was using my jean pattern and I was doing the single leg muslin and the whole thing, and I was trying to fit all these shapes with one pattern. And what happens is you have your back crotch, right? And you got your front crotch. Well, the whole point in my mind, is we have to balance the front and back leg, right? Because if the front and back legs are balanced, then you get like a nice drape. You don't have any weird wrinkles. You don't get diagonal wrinkles. And that's wonderful. So what happens is, let's say you're fitting a single leg and you get that back crotch curve to be right up against you. And then you notice your front curve is hanging 3 inches below your body. That's a very common thing to have happen. So what do you try to do? Well, you try to pleat it up and pick it up and pull it up. Well, what happens a lot of the time is, as you're pulling this up here, you're pulling the fabric through your legs, right? It's attached. That's the problem, right? The front is attached to the back. And that's what makes pants fitting so difficult. So I decided that after trying a million ways to get the front to come up by either pulling it from the waist, pleating it out here, right? Or doing all these different things to lift the front, sometimes you can lift the back up some more, then lift the front up some more, and you can work with it and you can get it closer. But if the curve of the pattern isn't agreeing with your curve, you end up pulling the back through your legs to the front. So I thought to myself, I'm just going to pick up the front. So I figured out ways to adjust the pattern where you're not pulling up anything except just that area on the pattern to pick it up. So after I figured that out, I also realized that the crotch, especially the back crotch, can be adjusted from the waist or from the extension, right? So if you're working with a single leg muslin, you can have an extra inch or inch and a half allowance because you're not sewing it to the other side. If you have a big seam allowance and you're sewing pants, it globs up in there and then you can't tell if it fits. So having a single leg is a perfect time to fit that crotch from the top and from the extension, also, in the front as well. So I thought, okay, that's working, right? And then I thought about it even farther. And another thing that happens with pants fitting is it's one size, right? And how many of you think you're just one size? I'm not one size. No, almost everybody has, my waist is off the chart. I don't even have a waist, right? So my waist, well, actually, I think I have a butt in the front and I have a butt in the back, see, there it is. But I mean, it's almost like I have an S shape. So I have a curve here, but then I have a curve here. So if I measure across my tummy and then across my full hip, those measurements are almost identical, right? And then some other shapes, that I noticed were causing problems is if you have, let's say you have your full hip says on the chart, you're a 14, right? And then you have these slender legs. And if you were to measure the leg, the top of the leg at your upper thigh, and compare it to the pattern, you have like, 4 inches of ease or 5 inches of ease on your leg because you have slender legs, but your hip is telling you you're a size 14, right? So I came up with a series of body-specific adjustments that you can do to your pattern before you start fitting. So even before you make a single leg muslin, if you can see it in the mirror, you can change it before you start fitting. And one of the big ones is to get rid of the extra here, right, all down your leg. If you've got a 14 here and your legs are saying they're a 10, or whatever that might be, because if you can get rid of some of the extra ease on the back leg before you start fitting, it makes fitting significantly easier. So that's one thing I look for. Another thing is if you have prominent inner thighs or prominent knees, have you ever been in a situation where you're standing up and you can grab handfuls of fabric just under your full hip, but your inseam feels snug? That's a common thing because the ease on the side seams doesn't transfer in to the inseam on some shapes. So you can shift the fabric in and take it off of the sides without adding or removing ease. So that's another thing you can do to customize your pattern to your body. Another thing is if you have a tilted waist, like let's say you have a very short rise in the front and a longer rise in the back, that's an important one to check, especially if you're going to be adding fitting allowance above the waist, because, if you are going to add, the general recommendations are between, 2 and 4 inches of extra so you can do this, right? So you can pick it up or pull it down. But if the rise is already 4 inches longer than you, then the fabric's up to your bust, and that's very annoying and it's hard to work with. So adjusting patterns for tilted waist is important. And, inward rotating knees is something you can adjust for. If you have asymmetry, in those cases, I tend to fit either the larger size or the higher side and then see what the full muslin looks like. Because sometimes when you adjust for asymmetry, you end up making it more noticeable. So the only time you want to fit for asymmetry is if it's causing your garment to skew or pull to one side, or if it's not hanging right, that's when you'd want to fit for that. So I figured out all these different things to adjust the pattern before you start fitting, and then you start with the single leg muslin. But even before that, how many of you look for a pattern, you have a pattern, and you say, all right, I'm going to make this pattern, but I want to taper the leg. I want to do this, I want to do that. Do you find yourself saying these things sometimes when you pick a pattern? Okay, so when you do that, you're doubling your work, right? You're fitting it to your body, but you're also changing the style. So I think my number one tip for being more efficient in your pants fitting is to truly look for a pattern that you want to make, right? It's got the style you like. It's got the details. It's got the fit. So the most important fits you want to look for is pants go from like palazzo pants or split skirts to trousers to slacks to jeans, and then you could make really snug skinny jeans. And in that whole range, the thing that makes the difference is how big the crotch extensions are or how long the crotch extensions are. Now, I have my Sorsha Classic Sun trousers. I made a pair. They hang a little bit below my body. They look beautiful, right? I made a couple of those. I'm like, you know what? I want to make slacks out of this pattern. It took me 6 hours to fuss around, taking in the inseam and adjusting the crotch and getting it to look okay. And then in the end of the day, I couldn't transfer that back to my pattern. So I don't even have a pattern for that pair of pants that I now made fit like slacks. So you really want to look at how the pattern fits from the waist to the upper thigh. That's the important part, right? Does it stand away from your body a little bit? right? So if you're making trousers, but you want them to fit close, it's more than just taking it in. Okay, so picking the style pattern you want to make is super important. And then, as I said before, picking the size. I like to pick the size based on your full hip. And then remove extra ease below on the leg if you need to. And also, you're going to add fitting allowances around so you can let it in and take it out depending on what you need. So that's where I've sort of landed in pants fitting. And, you know, the thing is, you do all this work, right? Let's say you have your single leg muslin and you pleated some stuff out, right? And you pinned here and you took it up here and you've got stuff sewn into it. Another really important thing is the minute you know something is working in your pants fitting, put it on your paper pattern. Don't wait till the end, because if you wait till the end, things get lost in translation. So you want to literally, if you know, all right, I can pleat out here, let's say pleating it out, right? That works. I basted it in, I tried it. If it looks nice standing up, sit down and see if you can still sit, right? You always want to see what happens when you sit. You want to see what happens when you bend. And if that works, you want to transfer that pleat that you made on your back leg right to your paper pattern. So that's very important. And then after you've finished working with the single leg and you trim your inseams back down to a 1/2 inch after you let it out or whatever it is, whatever your final answer is, what I like to do, especially if, have you come into a situation where your front side seam and your back side seam are now different because you let out one and you didn't let out the other one? Well, what I like to do in those situations is measure from my final answer, my stitching line, out whatever the maximum allowance I have left. So let's say I look down my side seam and I have 1 inch. This is the smallest amount I have. I'll measure from 1 inch all the way down, cut on that line, and then I have these 2 scraps. Use those scraps as a template to take the extra off your front and back side seams. Does that make sense? And you can do that to your inseam as well, and that really helps make that accurate because you've measured from your final answer. Then, if you, let's say you had the problem with the front crotch hanging down way too low, you can actually take a piece of fabric, patch it in there, like literally just put a piece of fabric on the crotch. So here's my crotch. I'm just going to put some fabric here like this. I'm going to zigzag it on, and then I'm going to measure and increase my inseam and my base of my crotch, front and back, so they match. Try it on to see if I like it. If that works, I can then adjust my paper pattern to raise the crotch and change the shape. And then what you do is you use the adjusted pattern to cut out your second leg. And what I love about that is you've got a messy leg, a sloppy copy, right, whatever you did, and then you've got a neat copy that is cut out from your adjusted pattern pieces. So that's basically the process. And once you get the 2-leg muslin, that's when you can fine tune the shape of the crotch. You might need to scoop a little bit. But if you did a good job, you know, working with adjusting the front and back leg to get it to hang, like you're literally going to do this, right? But it's not just picking up the center front and the center back. It's not just picking up the side and putting the side down. You can make small adjustments in the middle of the front leg, the middle of the back leg, until it's all hanging nicely. And you can actually get rid of, if you end up with, how many of you have extra fabric here all the time? Okay, I have an adjustment for that. Okay, so I have an adjustment where you pleat it out on your muslin and then you transfer it to your paper pattern, and you're getting rid of vertical length under your behind without touching the crotch, right? But where does that show? If I pleat it out here, where does it show on the pattern? It shows up at the top. So you'll get a dip, right, at the top of the waist. Now, you might say to yourself, well, if you know that you're going to get a dip at the top, why don't you just make a dip, right? Well, I tried that, and it's not as accurate. It's almost like if you can get in there and take it out where it needs to go, and then do the adjustment to the paper pattern, that will tell the waistline where to dip instead of you just randomly dipping it someplace. Does that make sense? But if you practice adjusting from the waist, the more you practice adjusting from the waist, the less other adjustments you'll need to do after when you get to your 2 legs. Does that make sense? Are you having fun? I mean, I could talk about pants all day long, but so what I thought I would do is just give you a general outline of like my thought process on fitting pants. And that, let me talk about one more thing. And then what I want to do is if you want to volunteer and come up here, we can look at how your pants are fitting. And we can sort of see what the wrinkles are trying to tell us. I like to do that, especially on ready-to-wear pants, because how hard are we as sewers? When we're fitting ourselves, we're trying to smooth ourselves out like glass, right? Like we want everything to be perfect when we're sewing for ourselves, but guess what? Pants have wrinkles. And when you go into the store and you buy your favorite brand, your favorite designer, whatever, you think you have these amazing pants. Sometimes the ones you made yourself that you beat yourself up on fit you better than the ones you bought from the store. I see it all the time. And actually, I was walking down the little thing to get on the plane today, and there was this guy in front of me, and he had a pair on of like Levi jeans or something. And it was so classic, I took a picture. Now, I never take pictures where people can see I'm taking pictures. And I never take pictures of people's faces. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but sometimes for research, I can't turn it off. So I'm watching him walk, and then we're standing there waiting, because you know you have to wait to get on the plane. And his back crotch seam literally stood away from his behind, looped under his butt, and then disappeared between his legs. And then what that did was it created sort of this poofy extra fabric on both sides, right? So then we started walking again, and he went like this. He went... So I took a picture of that too. And what happened on that one was the whole inseam almost disappeared. And it just made big loose wrinkles right here, right? So I'm always like looking at, I have to sit in the front at church. Imagine what a disaster it would be if I sat in the back at church. Like, it's all there for me to look at. Like, it's awful. So I try to sit up front at church, and I try to, pay attention on the other things I'm supposed to be, but I'm always looking at wrinkles, and I'm always trying to figure them out, no matter where I am. So I thought, it would maybe be fun if we could look. Now, I don't want anyone to feel bad. You know what I mean? Like, so if you want to come up and we'll critique the fit of your jeans or your pants, we can do that. But, don't feel like you have to, and only come up if you want to, hear me honestly talk about what's going on with your pants. Something else that can happen, and I think... Dawn and Judy were so nice. They picked me up from the airport, and they fed me coffee because I didn't get any coffee because of the flight situation I had, starting at 4 in the morning and then having delays and having to run from the first flight to the second flight. But I think when we were having lunch, you showed me some pictures, right? Where are you? Is she in here? Did you show me your pictures of your pants? Okay. Yeah. So something that can happen, and this is another thing that's very annoying. Let's say you fit these pants and they look gorgeous. They're all sewn together and the waistband's not on yet. You put the waistband on and you get the dreaded smiles, right? Has that ever happened to anybody? It's really important when you're fitting your pants before you add the waistband to make sure the side seams and the center back seam, everything is sitting against your body, and that's where it's going to stay. And you make your waistband to sit where you've been doing all of this fitting, because what happens is, especially if you're making elastic waist pants or you're doing a contoured waist, and what happens is you put it on and it rides up on you. And what happens is it will pull the pants up higher than they should go, and then you end up with fitting issues you didn't have before you put the waistband on. Another thing that can happen is, who's in the class tomorrow? Okay, so there's a fair amount of you. Did you bring your waistbands with your Velcro? Okay, so the waistband is a game changer because we are going to fit that waistband onto your body where you want your pants to sit on your body, right? We're going to make sure we put it on there every time, same spot, whatever. We're going to make sure it's not doing this, right? We're going to make sure it's nice and fitted onto you. What I want you to think about and dream about tonight is the waistband controls how snug the pants fit. The waistband does. When you go to put the fabric of the waistline around the waistband, you want to make sure you're not trapping any extra ease because there's Velcro on my waistband. Now, why did I add Velcro to the waistband? Because I tried just using a non-stretch interface strip of fabric with a safety pin, and I couldn't see, under my girls to where my waist was. And it's, even though, I'm looking in the mirror, it's mirror image, it's hard to see. So having the Velcro on the bottom of the waistband, does anybody know what that bottom half or 5/8 inch is on the fitting waistband? It's the seam allowance for the waistband, right? So when you put your fabric on top, we're going to mark the top of that Velcro through the fabric once we're happy. That line you're marking is the stitching line that you would sew the pants to the waistband, right? Then you need a seam allowance above that for the pants. Does that make sense? So I want you to think about, we're going to fit the waistband, and if you're not coming tomorrow and you're going to do pants fitting at home and you want to try this, you really want to make sure the waistband is fitting you securely and it's not seesawing on you or shifting around. And I know that seems obvious, but I can tell you I can't count on my two hands how many students will come up to me with their waistband on and it's doing this. Okay, so you have to take your time, get that waistband. That is going to be your anchor to drape your fabric of your pants. And think about how amazing it is that you're not having to drag up everything. Like if your waistband's attached to your pants and you're fitting, you pull everything up, you pull everything down. It's very hard to keep that at a static location if it's dragging around with your legs. Does that make sense? All right, does anybody have any questions? No? No one has a pants fitting question in this room. So like if you have a different kind of hip curve on one leg and it's up here on the other side. Okay, so in that case, you do want the fabric to come up where it's comfortable on your waist, and you may have to let out the other side. So like if you've got a wider, some people have, as a matter of fact, I want to say a lot of people have differences from left to right. It's very common, like everybody does. Some things might not be as noticeable, but everybody has differences left to right. I try to not fit them separately though, unless I have to. Because, like I said, a lot of times it will make it more obvious. But if it's something where, especially if it's a higher hip, you do need it to sit there, right? You do need the waistband to sit where it's comfortable. So you may need to raise one side and then lower the other side at the end. But you want to pick a side to start with and then adjust from there. So because you can't add fabric, that's why I always say I'll do the higher side. Because I can let down the lower side. I can't, make a lower side higher. So that's why I like to work with the higher side and then lower the lower side. Like nobody has a pants fitting question. Like seriously? Mm-hmm. So adding, if you know that's your trouble spot, give yourself 1.5 inches of extra seam allowance on your inseams. So you can not only let out, sometimes letting out the side seam is not the answer, right? Because if you're letting out the side seams, but you've got fuller inner thighs, anything you let out here is going to just puddle here, and this is still going to feel tight. So the ability to let out both inseam and side seams, I think, will help you. And also your crotch extensions might need to be longer, because if you think about how your body is, right, if you've got whatever the width of your thigh is, that's part of the depth of your body, right? So you need to have enough front to back room. And if you've got prominent thighs or, generous thighs, you might need more crotch extensions. So giving you that extra 1 or 1.5 inches to both front and back crotch extensions will help you let that out and get a comfortable fit. Oh, I'm going to do the girl behind you, and then I'll do you. Go ahead. Yes. Okay. Let me go back to my body specific things. Okay. Here are two huge things you can do in pants fitting that will make your life so much easier. One's in the front and one's in the back. If you have a flat behind, I want you to think about this. You don't have a lot of curve here, right? So when you look at your crotch shape, if it's really angled, like out here, what is that giving you? More negative space, right? The more angled the center back, straight part of the center back seam is, the farther it goes towards the side seam, the more room you're going to have inside. So when you sew that center back seam up, you're going to have lots of room inside and your butt's not filling it up, right? So you end up with puffy butt. Now here's the problem with puffy butt. You're looking at your puffy butt in the mirror and you're like, oh, so what do? You pinch it out down the center back. What are you doing? You're making even more room inside, right? So if you've got a flat behind, straighten out the straight part of the center back seam, okay? And here's the thing, if you straighten it out too much, oh well, you can just sew it, you could let it out that way and give yourself more room if you need it, right? So for flat butt, that's important. You may also need to cut some of your extension off, right? Because if you've got a flat behind where the bottom of your cheek is over here, you might not need that much depth depending on the shape. So that's for the flat behind in the back. Now my favorite one in the front, and this was a personal triumph when I figured this out. Well, actually my friend Eric helped me. I have a friend who had top job at Gap, like literally he pressed go on production. Like he would go visit all of the, you know, the factories and all the foreign countries and come back, and like he was, you know, he doesn't do that anymore, and actually he's moving close to me now, so I'm going to get him. But anyway, when I first made my first jeans pattern, the front of my jeans pattern, so now we're on this side, angled away from center, so it was almost like it tipped towards the side seam a little bit. Have you seen pants like that where the center front kind of angles a little bit away from center? So if center is straight, it's angling away. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so my first jeans pattern has a little bit of an angle there. And I fit that thing to death, and I got it to fit great, right? Everything looked wonderful. I put the front fly in, put the waistband on, looking in the mirror, and I have this poochie right here, right? Like right at the base of my zipper, and I'm thinking I sewed my zipper wrong because it fit great before when I was doing the muslin, it was just sewn up in it, whatever. Well, what happens is when you have an angled center front, you have a V, you have a dart at your center. Now what happens when you sew that center front up, your waist goes like this, it goes like this, right? It curves because you close the dart in the center front. It pushes the side seam up. Perfect for someone who has a defined waist because the fabric goes up and sits on your smaller waist, and then everything looks lovely. Now you can see I do not have a defined waist. See, I'm almost the same measurement here, 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 everywhere, straight like a rectangle. So what's happening is if you have an angle and you have my shape, it tries to go up, but there's nowhere for it to go, so it pushes back down and it makes a poof in the front of your pants or your jeans. So if you've got a rectangle shape, straighten that center front out. That's one of the body specific things. I can't believe I forgot to tell you that when I was talking about body specific. Those are so important. And actually on my Sorsha Classic Slim Trouser pattern, I have guidelines for the flat butt or the average butt. I have the guidelines for the defined waist and the rectangle shape printed right on the pattern. So I put it in there because that's how important I thought it was. So that's really important. And then I have a question. What do you do when you sit down and your pants are sliding down in the back? Does anyone ever have that problem? Okay. So you might think, oh, it's sliding down. I'm going to just raise this up, right? So if you raise the length of the top of the back crotch, it will be higher, but guess what? It's still going to slide. Why is it sliding? You don't have enough seat. So I consider this the seat where the curve is to the crotch extension is the seat of your pants. If you sit down and it's sliding down, that happens because as you sit, everything behind gets longer, right? Everything shifts to the back when you sit, and it slides down. So what do you do? Well, that's a trick question, because you might have to do one of two things. If you have slender upper thighs and you already have enough ease in the top of your jeans or pants, muslin, you can't extend the crotch out to make more room because then you'll have too much ease on your leg. Does that make sense? So if this needs to be lengthened from here to here, what else can you do? Does anyone know? You scoop sideways. So you actually scoop here. Now, you're going to be taking some width off, so you might have to let the side seam out, right? So you've added more depth, but you haven't increased the inseam by pushing out the extension. Does that make sense? So that's an important thing. So if you're sliding and if it's not comfortable, you need more depth front to back. So maybe you also have to scoop out the front a little bit. I want everyone to think about their front crotch curves as a mini butt, right? You might have a prominent pubic bone, you might have a recessed pubic bone. It's the same thing. So the little front crotch curve issues are the same as the back, it's just smaller. So like if the curve is curving too much, you can get wrinkles. And if you have a low behind, who has a low behind in this room? All right, so you know a low crotch curve is more of a hook like this, right? So it dips down and comes up to the inseam, right? Because your butt curve, the bottom of your behind is actually lower than the inseam. Does that make sense? So if that happens in the back where you scoop here to make room for a lower behind, and then you bring your front along and your front crotch is going horizontal out like this, that's not going to fit right because it's going to do this when it meets. It's going to make like a little peak at the top of the inseam. So if you have a low behind, you want to straighten out. It's almost like the front crotch curve is almost like a curved line going down to meet the hook sort of J you get when you do a low behind. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, so I love that question, because remember when I said to you I was doing all these crazy things, like I tried so many ways to measure my crotch, so many ways. I tried using the bendable ruler. I tried using a wire hanger. I tried using that measuring tape. Like I tried everything. Well, the question is, she wants to know how to measure the crotch and lengthen it because she always needs more length in her crotch, right? Okay, so here's the beauty of this. If you're working with a single leg muslin, if you're adding between 2 and 4 inches above the waistline of the pattern and you're adding to the crotch extensions, you don't have to measure anything. The only time I'm going to measure is if I look at you and I say, I think you're much shorter than the pattern already. The goal is to have 2 to 4 inches of extra vertical length here and here, right? And also have like an inch or extra on the crotch. And then you're fitting it. You don't care what the measurement is. The only time you care what the measurement is if it's already way too long for you. Because then the fabric is going to tell you. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's go back to, we picked our size, right? We did the body specific things, like let's say we straighten the center back out because we have a flat butt. Let's say we adjusted for a prominent inner thigh. Let's say we took out some extra ease on the back leg because we have a more slender leg, right? After you've done that prepping, you could take a quick measurement. You could literally take a ruler, lay it against you like this, to where you can see where you start to curve in to your waist, lay it on the pattern and measure that same area. from the waist to where it starts to curve in. If the pattern is already, 2 or 3 or 4 inches longer than you, you don't need to add more. But like, let's say you agree with the measurement of the paper pattern, you have a long rise, you're going to add 4 inches across the front of your waistline. Okay, you're going to add 4 inches, and in the back, you're going to add, 4 inches. Sometimes, if you have a tilted waist, you may add nothing or an inch at center front, blend to 2 inches at the side seam, and then go from 2 inches in the back side seam to 4 inches in the back. And then when you have your pattern and you cut out your muslin, you're going to draw the original line of the original waistline from the pattern. So you'll have a line that will show you how high the pattern was before you added, right? Then when you start working with that single leg muslin, it's going to come up as where you need it. It's going to give you the room to let it up, pull it up or pull it down and get that balance. Does that make sense? And then, because literally, when I tell you, I have tried measuring, in my mind, I think, what do I want to say about measuring? Most cases, a lot of measuring, all it does is it kind of stresses you out. It stresses you out, right? The goal for getting that first single leg muslin on your body is to have enough fabric to play with, but not so much that it's annoying. So again, getting rid of extra ease on the back leg if your legs are more slender than your full hip, making sure you're not adding too much, because if you put the single leg muslin on and the fabric goes up to here, that's annoying. The first thing I would say to you is, all right, let's cut off 4 inches off your muslin, go cut it off your pattern. So I like to check it just to make sure it's not going to be overwhelming. There. We are going to be using the Sorsha Classic Slim Trouser pattern tomorrow. But here's what I'm hoping for you, and all of you, and anyone who's going to fit pants. I want to teach you how to fit pants while you're fitting your pants. How to fit the pants while you're fitting the pants. Some students, when I'm teaching a pants fitting class, they don't care. They just want to get that thing fitted, and they don't care how they got there. And if that's you, that's fine. You can do that if you want to. But I encourage you, because we're going to have mirrors, okay? The other thing that's really important is you need 2 mirrors. Or you need a situation where I can see what's going on in the front, and as I'm doing this, or as I'm doing this, or whatever I'm doing, I can see what it's doing to the back, right? That is a game changer, to have a front view and a back view so you can see what you're doing without playing Twister. It also prevents you from having to run back and forth to a camera. That's what I was doing all day long. I was taking pictures of myself, running back and checking it. I was half out of the frame, whatever it is. It was annoying. And then I got my 2 mirrors set up, and it's like, wow, I can see what I'm doing in the back as I'm working on the front. And that's going to be a huge help to working with fitting them. So what I'm hoping is, each step along the way, I'm hoping to enable you and encourage you and give you the confidence to go free, find the pattern you want to make, and try it. Because people will always say to me, oh, this crotch fits me perfect. Can I just copy it out into all my pants patterns? No, you can't. I'd like to say you can, but if it's not the same style pant and you put that crotch onto a different pattern, then it may not work out for you so well. So it's better to start with the pattern you want to make, the fit that you're looking for, so you're not trying to change the style and also fit it to you. Because if you're just fitting, that's enough work already, right? Taking a trouser and making it into a slack is exhausting, because I tried it. It took me 6 hours. So I'll be wearing, tomorrow I'm going to wear my blue Sorsha Classics and trousers. And then the next day I'm going to wear the pants I made into slacks, so you can see the difference. And you can see they're more close fitting, the crotch is closer to me. But I had to fuss with that for 6 hours, and I didn't end up with a pattern at the end of the day, because by the time I got done fussing with it, I couldn't reliably transfer everything to the paper pattern. And I know what I'm doing. So what I'm saying to you is, you really want to pick a pattern that you want to make, focus on fitting that. Now, if you're brand new to fitting this way, working with a single leg muslin and a separate waistband, I have all tutorials on my YouTube channel that will show you how to do it, make the waistband. And when I was learning to do this process, I used the Peppermint Magazine high-waisted pants from In the Folds in Peppermint Magazine. It's an Australian magazine. It's a free download, so you can download it for free, or you can give them a little money if you want. That's nice, right? And you can try it. And the beauty of that pattern is it's not designed to be snugged up on you, so it's an easy pattern to try at home yourself if you're not coming to class. Like if you're not going to be in class tomorrow, I recommend starting with a pattern like that, because when you're working with a wide leg trouser fit, the only fitting you have to worry about is from like an inch below your crotch up, right? The snugger your fitting, the snugger your pattern, the farther down you have to go to fit. Because if you're working with a slack, let's say, that's going to cup under your butt, so you have to worry about that. And then because it's a snugger leg, you have to make sure you have enough inner thigh room. You have to make sure you have enough room in the knee and the calf. And then, as it gets snugger, you really have to make sure you have enough room in your knee and your calf. So wide leg pants are the easiest thing to start with. And then to get the process, right? Once you get the process. And then the other thing I wish I could tap you all on the head and say, oh, you got it. You got it. You got it. You know how to do it. So I can't do that. It takes practice. It takes practice, right? So here's how you're going to practice. Let's say you have your single leg muslin, you've made it, and you get it on and you're working with it, right? And let's say you're getting tired of working on it, but you're not happy with it yet. You're not going to take the pants muslin off the waistband and then take the waistband off. You're going to stick a few pins in to help the Velcro. You're going to take the waistband off like you're taking off pants, so it's still attached. And then when you come back the next day or the day after or whenever you feel like working on it, and by the way, you want to fit pants when you're happy to fit pants. Don't try to fit pants when you're mad. I've tried it. It does not work. You want to work on pants when you want to work on pants. And when you're done working on pants, walk away. Because I've thrown things out my window. You want to be happy to work on the pants. Yes?
Okay, I've had limited success with this, but the majority of the girth of my body as I'm standing sideways looking in the mirror is in front.
Mm-hmm.
So I have done a size down for the back and a size 16 in the back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that not advisable?
If you're adding to the inseams and the side seams, you don't need to worry about it because you can let out the front and leave the back alone. Okay, now here's another thing that could be a little controversial, but you look at somebody and it's almost like they have a backward shape, right? They've got more belly than butt. Try your pants on backwards and see what happens, right? Try them on backwards and see what happens. It might be easier for you to adjust that than make the front fit the front and the back fit the back. So, I mean, if something that seems like it might make sense, try it, right? I don't do that very often, but every now and then it's come in handy. It's come in handy. And here's another thing that's crazy to me, and I asked Eric this. If you've got a prominent tummy, like, you know how I was straightening the center front because I don't have a waist, right? So if you have a big belly, can you swing the center front out away from center to make more room? And the answer was kind of surprising to me. Like in ready to wear, the only time they do that a little bit, like a quarter or a half inch, is in maternity wear. So we don't need to do that, right? We don't need to swing it that way. We can swing it a little bit, we can. And then we could do a prominent tummy adjustment. Prominent tummy adjustment, if you think about it, it's not just giving you more width. It also, you need length, right? So like if you've got a curve, prominent tummy adjustment gives you more length as well as gives you a little bit more width. So that's just an interesting thing that when I asked him, I thought he was going to say, oh yeah, you can just push that thing way out. Well, apparently no. It makes a funny thing. It makes like a funny shape.
Repeated. limited success with using a smaller size in the back than and a larger, the same pattern, but like do the 18 in the front and the 16 in the back, and that was what she was addressing.
Yes, and one of the other issues with that is, depending on how her question was, can you use a size 18 in the front and a size 16 in the back? Because you're bigger in the front and smaller in the back. That seems like that would make sense. And you probably can. However, the way pants patterns are drafted, the side and inseams probably don't match because they're longer and shorter as you get bigger and smaller. So that's why I'm saying, instead of doing that and picking between sizes, just give yourself that extra allowance on the inseam and give yourself the extra on the side seam, and then you can let them out individually, and then use my trick for measuring from your final answer, cutting off the extra bits and using that as templates to take what you need off the front and off the back, especially when they're different. Ready to wear pants, side seams. Yeah, where did it go? Can I see the question again? Because I read it, but it didn't go in my brain. Does that ever happen to you? You read something, it's like, whew.
I don't know if you can hear me. Got my audio on, is my question.
Side seams roll towards center front, usually below the knee to ankle. Is this a grain line issue or hip fitting issue? So are you talking about like the side seams pitched to the front or pitched to the back? Is that what we're talking about? Okay, so interestingly, if you're looking at your side seams and they're doing this towards the hem, they're pitching forward. If you pull the back up, it will straighten it out usually. And if it's pitching the other way, pull the front up and it will pull it back the other way. So if like the back's too long, the side seams will go towards the front. Now it could be that it's a grain issue, it could be. But a lot of times it's that you need to pick up the back if it's pulling to the front. Pulling to the front. Yes. Okay, so her question is, if you have knocked or inward rotating knees, how do you fit that so you don't look like you have inward rotating knees? Well, style is the first thing. If you make a skinny pant, it's going to follow your leg and it will look the way your leg is shaped. So what I would say is widen your leg just a little bit. It doesn't need to be wide leg, and you want to put more fabric on the inseam. So if you put more fabric on the inseam, it'll skim over that. You can take some off of the side seam. And also, sometimes if you shorten the inseam between the knee and the crotch, that helps it hang straighter too, if it's not hanging straight. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes, and where do you think the scratchy Velcro goes? Okay, so the question is, if you're putting Velcro on the waistband, are you also putting Velcro on the pants? The answer is yes. So I'm asking, where do you think the scratchy Velcro goes? Would you put it on the waistband or the pants? Waistband. Because the waistband, the Velcro is going to be face out. You're going to take the soft Velcro and you're going to cut 6 to 8 inch pieces, and you're going to put them in the center front and back seam allowance and in the middle of the front and back leg. So you'll have, and think of them as sticky pins, right? And the reason why it's vertical is because you don't know where it's going to be, right? So you want to put it into that extra allowance you're adding, because you very well might need to let those pants down. I'll tell you, the first time I worked with adding extra on the top, I'm like, I don't need 4 inches. I'm smarter. I know what I'm doing. So I put 2 inches, and guess what? I ran out of room on my center back. I didn't have enough length. So you really want to give yourself enough room to play with, and you need the Velcro to go almost all the way up to the top, because if you have to let that down, you want to be able to let it down and still let it stick, wherever it is vertically. And the way you know where your seam allowances are, center front and center back, is you're going to stay stitch the seam of the crotch. So you put that Velcro between the stay stitching and the raw edge of the muslin. Do not put it close to the side seam. I tried that. That's a pain in the butt. It just gets in the way. So in the center of the front and back leg, and in the seam allowance of center front, center back. Are you having fun? I'm not putting anyone to sleep. Is anyone crying on the inside? Sometimes that can happen too. Just want to make sure. That's an excellent question. I love that question. Okay, they wanted to know, do you just base the Velcro on? And that's an excellent question, because in class, and I bet you someone's going to do it tomorrow, I'm willing to bet you, they're going to sew close to the edge in a tiny little straight stitch, and they're going to go all the way across the bottom and all the way up the top. It's going to look gorgeous. But you want to use that soft Velcro for your next pair. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your stitch length on the biggest stitch you have, and you're just going to do 1 row down the center. Boom, that's it. Then you're going to rip it off, stick it on your waistband for your next fitting project, because you are going to love to fit pants when I'm done with you. You're going to just want to fit pants all day long, every day. I want to make pants fitting fun. And we're going to make it fun. And it is going to be fun. So I'm very excited. I hope you're excited. Because it is, it's fun. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, it is. That's an excellent question. The question is, you get a good fit in your muslin, but every fabric fits differently. What do? This is what I do. I leave an inch seam allowance on my sides, even if I know it fits, and I leave an inch at the top, even if I know it fits, and I don't cut out the front pockets until I'm sure it fits. Because if you cut out your front pocket and then you have to take in your side seams, you'll end up with not enough room to get your hand in, right? And then I'll trim everything down once I test it. So I always give myself that extra inch, side seams and above the waist, on any new fabric. If I'm making linen pants, I know it fits in linen, I don't do that. But if I'm making, let's say I want to try to make, I don't know, let's say it's some weird fabric, I don't even know what it is, I'm going to add. And if it's the lighter weight the fabric is, the more I would add, because lighter weight fabric can fit tighter too. So in something that's soft and drapey, you can get away with more things, but still you want to make sure you can let things out if you need to. And okay, so I fit knit pants the exact same way. I use my non-stretch. Oh, they're asking about fitting knit pants versus woven pants. I use my same non-stretch waistband to fit knit pants. Now, if the knit pants have a little bit of gather around the top, because you're going to put elastic in there, let's say, I'll run gathering stitches across the waistline and just gather it up as much as I think I want for fullness. And then I treat it like a non-stretch pant. I just fit it. The only thing that doesn't work for single leg, obviously, is if you're making negative ease leggings. That's not going to stay here. It's going to pull away, it's not going to stay. So you can use it to balance the legs to see if it's working, but usually for leggings and yoga pants, because you're working with fabric that's got 4-way stretch, at least 40% in both directions, that's usually, I want to say, instant gratification pants. Like when I teach my yoga pants class, even at like Houston Quilt Festival with 25 students, everyone leaves with finished yoga pants that fit in 3 hours or 4 hours. So that's a different thing. But if you're making a knit pant that's got a little bit of gather, right, you can fit it just like a non-stretch pants. And you could put some gathers in there. If you want it to have gathers, you can just gather up the fabric a little bit and then just sort of tie it off, like put a safety pin in there and just tie off the gather so it stays, and then fit it like a non-stretch pants. Is there a question in there I can answer? One new message underneath that one. Which part of the Velcro goes on the waist and which goes on the pants? Okay, that's a really good question. The scratchy Velcro goes on the waistband itself because it's not going to be against your skin. The soft Velcro is going to be inside your pants. We're not going to take our fabric of our pants and shove it underneath the waistband because that's a pain. It's hard to adjust. We're just going to stick, I know I'm going opposite. I mean, you know, I've got a shirt, but my point is we're going to stick the fabric onto the waistband so we can pick it up and put it back and pick it up and put it back without killing ourselves shoving it underneath the waistband. It's very hard to accurately mark what you're doing when the waistband's on top too. So we're going to have the soft Velcro inside the pants, scratchy Velcro on the waistband. I have an entire tutorial on my YouTube channel that explains how to make the waistband. I also have kits. I did not want to make kits because you have to cut up all the Velcro and all the things. And I thought, okay, I'm going to offer these kits and I'm going to get one every now and then. Oh my God, I was making kits all day long when I first offered them. And I'm not complaining, but I went to New York and I bought 2 50-yard rolls of the Velcro, but they're separate. You got the scratchy and you got the soft, right? And here's me. I'm going to marry them together. Before I knew what could happen, I ended up with this big glob of Velcro this big. I went running downstairs to my husband in his office and I said, I can't make these waistband kits because look at this Velcro. It took me 2 hours to straighten the Velcro out. But you know what? I have it down cold now. I keep it on the roll. I roll it out. I wrap it up and I keep it separate from each other until it goes in the kit because that was a bad idea. Don't ever try to marry 50 yards of Velcro together before you cut it into pieces. Does not work. I know from personal experience. But I have instructions for all of that on my channel. Yes, it's going to be super exciting. Can I tell them about my new exciting thing I'm doing? Okay, I have hundreds of free videos on my YouTube channel, hundreds. And I've gotten a lot of requests for a table of contents or something to help people find my videos. So what I've decided to do, and this has been a much larger project than I ever dreamed. I thought I was going to launch it before I came, and I'm still not done. It'll be done, in the next week. I'm doing a complete catalog of all my YouTube videos. They're on single-page PDF. They're organized by topic, and then if it's fitting, they're organized by order of operation, okay? And I've decided to set it up like a course on my new Kajabi community. It's going to be called J. Stern Design's YouTube Insider Club. So exciting. And here's the most exciting thing for me. If any of you, do anyone of you come to my FabFit Fridays? Okay, I love FabFit Friday. I look forward to it every week because I get like the same people come. I have people from Germany and the Netherlands, and I have one lady from Istanbul that comes sometimes, and all over the country, whatever. I love it, but I can't see you guys. I can't see you. And I love seeing you. And like when I come to events like this and people say, oh, I see you on your YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. So I'm going to have a monthly meetup that goes along with that catalog. Okay. And I'm going to update it every month. So there'll be between 7, 8, 9 new videos every month that will be made into those PDFs and added to the catalog. And I'm going to have polls so you can help me shape what's going to come next month. And it's going to be a one-time $99 is what it's going to cost, but you have it forever. And then if you want to, now that's good for people who just need to know where the content is, right? And people who just can follow along and they don't, need more help or whatever. But I'm also going to have Fit Genius, which will be a more, what do I want to say? It's got more stuff. There's going to be pant slopers, torso slopers, exclusive content, monthly challenges. Like, did anyone see me making that wrap bodice dress? I took apart an Ann Taylor dress and I used my sloper from my ditto form to make a wrap front that goes to here, empire waist, and then I designed a skirt because I didn't have enough fabric from the Ann Taylor dress to make a skirt. It would be like baby doll dress on me, and that was not cute. So I had to, I had to get long. I had to make it maxi length so I didn't look like a ding dong. But my point is, that's going to be a free challenge in this new community. So every month there'll be a challenge. There'll be free classes in there. And these jeans I'm wearing, which are my twisted leg jeans. So I don't know if you noticed, but the side seam goes to center front hem and the inseam goes to center back. That's going to be a free pattern in my community. I'm going to come up with a few patterns every year that are free. I mean, you'll still be able to buy it. Like, I'm not going to annoy anybody. I'm still going to do everything I'm doing. I don't want you to feel like you have to join me, but I'm also going to meet with you every week. It's going to be so much fun. And then you guys can get together amongst yourselves and make friends. I'm just so excited about this because I just want to be more. So anyway, my YouTube address is J Stern Designs. J Stern Designs. If you put in J Stern Designs, I pop up all over. So I have J Stern Designs Instagram, J Stern Designs YouTube, J Stern Designs Facebook. I have a Facebook group, Fit Embroider Sew. Fit Embroider Sew. No, Fit Sew Embroider is my Facebook group. And there's a lot of free content. There's a lot of cool stuff in my Facebook group as well. I get a lot of questions, and my members are so helpful. They'll get in there and start answering before I even get a chance to get in there now. So that's working out nice, and I have a few moderators that help me. But I'm very excited about all of these things, and if you check any of the descriptions of any of the recent videos I did, there is a link to the wait list for this J Stern Designs YouTube Insider, but I will also do a dedicated video to it next week, and then you can just watch that and find it. But I'm very excited about all these things because I really want to have more community with all of you on a more regular basis. So that's that. We didn't look at anybody's pants. Come over. Let's do some. Okay, you come and you come. You two come. No, you can come too. Well, all right, so let's see.
I just lost a ton of weight, so I'm now into all skinny jeans.
Woohoo! Oh, come over here.
Sorry.
Okay, so the first thing that can be an instant helper in pants is to not have too much length. So literally, if I just get rid of about 2 inches, look how much nicer that leg looks already. Can you see that? Walk down there and show them. Right, so, okay, so here's another important thing. When you're doing the single leg fitting, so this is why I want you to dream about this tonight if you're in the class tomorrow. You're going to take the hem and you're going to fold it up to the knee line and you're going to pin it. So when you cut out your muslin, your hem is between your ankle, below your knee, but above your ankle, because if the fabric is puddling on your feet, it's very hard to see what's going on. Okay, so working on your length is super helpful. Let me just see what's going on back here. All right, so turn this way so they can see. All right, so just hold this like this. So see, if I do this, so see this rise is a little bit too long here. See, I can pinch out some there. And then see what's happening here? See how there's extra down here? So see what happens is if you pull up the crotch length to agree, you might also have to go in and take some out of the inseam to get rid of some of that fullness in there. You see what I'm talking about? So I just think these are, and how do they fit when they're right out of the dryer though? They might.
These actually are comfortable.
Yeah.
Got a lot of elastic in this pair.
So what happens with really stretchy pants like this, see how stretchy these are? This is going to bag out on you after you sit down in them for any length of time. So some of that extra length that I'm seeing back there might just be because they stretched.
Yeah, but no, this one, but like here's the other one. So I have other skinny pants that like when you start walking, they don't move with they start pulling down. There's not enough width in the back.
Yep, so you need more extension. You need more depth. More depth. Because if your pants are like, Okay, here's another thing. Let's say you're walking and you're like, oh, like, okay, wait. Look what happens when I do this. Look. See? Why? Because my hinge is too low. So the tighter your pants fit, the closer this needs to be to your body. So I saw the funniest thing on Instagram, and I was going to post it at my stories and say, if you're tired of fitting pants, try this instead. But I didn't want this person to get mad at me. But so it's this, the boys that wear their pants down below their butt? So there's this guy, he's walking like this, and he's got his pants down here, and then he looks over, and another guy has his down here. So the other guy's is down here, and he's walking like this, right? And so then the other guy goes, oh, so he puts his pants around his ankles, and he's going like this. So the other guy goes, huh. So he takes his pants off and ties them to a string, and he's dragging it behind. So I really I just didn't know if they would be offended that I put that, because obviously was not a sewing person. But so if you feel like, if they feel great, but then when you do this, it's because this is too far from your body. And that's why boys who wear their pants under their butts walk around like penguins, because they have no hinge. Is that a good, is that helpful? All right, so definitely shorten, if you shorten those, or just cuff them. You know what? Go on YouTube and look for no-sew cuff ideas. Shorten your pants, no-sew. There's so many, all these millennials have these cool ways of just folding up their little cuffs. Yeah, see, look at her. There you go. Do it like that. That looks great. But it looks nice and neat, though. But it looks nice and neat. I like it. Yeah, no, that's good. Yay. All right. All right, so tell me what your woes are. Oh, move over here. Sorry, we're sorry. Okay, so yeah, see, so we have a little extra fabric in here. Again, if you've got a tummy, you can skinny below by taking in that inseam a little.
At the bottom or the vertical or horizontal?
Probably this way, vertical. Okay. You're going to, well, it's a horizontal, but you're going to slash or trim the inseam and move it in, because that will get rid of some of this. Because see, if I pull it from over here, see how I can get rid of it by making it smaller?
Okay.
See, if I don't want to.
So I move it.
So you just take it in. You're taking it in.
But yeah.
You're sewing deeper, sewing inseams, here. Because that's what happens. Like if you need the depth for your body, then, are you coming to class tomorrow?
No, I can't. I gotta.
Okay. Okay. If you're not coming to class tomorrow, I have a 4-part series on my YouTube channel. It's called Troubleshooting Pants Fitting. It starts with how to pick your size, how to trace it, how to get rid of extra vertical length, which you could do that as well, and you could do it in the front and the back.
Okay.
And then how to cut out and sew a single leg muslin. 4 parts. And I did that so students who take my class can go back and get a refresher. So another thing you can do, sometimes it's very difficult to take in the side and inseams, right? So what you can literally do, I'll show you in the back. Ooh. Okay, so what you can do is, see how you've got a lot of extra here. So what you would do is you would literally start at 0 at the side seam. Can you see what I'm doing? 0 at the side seam, pleat out up to 1 inch to right below your butt, and then you pinch 1 inch all the way down, 1 inch total. Does that make sense? So you're going from here to the middle of your leg, nothing to 1 inch total, and then 1 inch all the way down. And I show how to make that adjustment on the paper pattern in that troubleshooting series. But you could do that in the front too. You could come here and then take it in and get rid of some of it here, instead of, if the crotch is working and you don't want to fuss with it, or if taking the inseam doesn't help, always try to do the simple thing, right? If taking in the inseam and taking the side seams works, great. But sometimes that doesn't work and you need to really get in there. I show how to get rid of all of this, and then start 0 and you just diagonally pin, and you can test it on your muslin first if you didn't do it before, and then you can transfer it to your paper. Okay. But you can do it in the front too, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because see in the front, turn around. So see, you could go from here down to here in the middle of your leg and then just take it in a little bit, see?
Okay, so you take it from both sides.
Yeah, but do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how that could work? Well, you're starting at 0 at the side seam because you don't want to shorten your side seam. So it's a pivot at the side seam. And what you do is you end up going from nothing to whatever you're going to pinch out here, you want to be pinched out on the diagonal. Now, here's the interesting thing about that diagonal. I'm 57 and I can get off the ground. So in addition to doing that diagonal, you're going to go across horizontal too. So watch the video. Because what that horizontal does is it allows you to swing the whole rest of the leg in without it making going on and on an angle. You can consistently get that inch. And then it's going to open on one side and it's going to overlap on the other side. Because when you push that triangle in on the paper, that's not an ease adjustment, that's a vertical adjustment. So when you cut the second thing, which I know it's hard to understand what I'm doing because I'm just pointing it out here, it will spread, but it'll spread the amount it overlapped. So they cancel each other out to just make it a ease adjustment. Yeah. But and you guys know that if you email me, I'll help you, right? I can't stop myself. So if you need help, please feel free to email me because I will help you. Well, you don't want to take out what you need. So that's why you want to test it in your muslin, right? You want to test it so you can base that in, sit, stand, make sure you guys sit. Because here's another thing. You might find, you look at yourself, I have too much ease, right? But then you sit down and your body when you're sitting is taking up every flaming amount of room in there and it's snug, right? It's very tight. So that means you can't take it in if it's pulling when you sit. So my recommendation for that is use a stretch woven. So when you sit, it'll be comfortable, and then you can take it in a little more. Because your flesh changes measurement and shape when you're sitting. So my favorite stretch woven fabric, well, I mean, my favorite stretch woven fabric would be like a 2% Lycra denim. I don't really make stretchy pants. I'll be honest. All of my pants, and you'll see tomorrow and the next day if you're coming, they're non-stretch. Because stretch can bag. So I'm not a fan of stretch wovens. But if you need it, it's very helpful. I'm not saying you need it. I'm just saying. But if you're going to try that, make sure you sit and walk around and make sure you're not making it too tight. You only want to take out what's extra. You don't want to take out more than you need to take out. You're welcome. Does anybody else want to look at their pants?
I get waistbands. I could put belts on here, which I didn't.
So, yeah, see, sometimes, depending on what the shape of your tummy is, it's hard to find like the perfect spot for that waistband to go. It's almost like you need to either put it a little bit higher or a little bit lower so it's not going to roll.
Yeah, because that's
If it's constantly rolling, and here's the thing, when you're fitting pants, make sure your pants, see in the back how, turn that way so they can see how the hems are poking out? We don't know how that would fit if it went down to the ankle. There might be some problems going on there below her knee. Does you see that? See how right here, how it's doing this? Right? So my point is, if you're making pants that are going to go to your ankle, you need to make a muslin that goes well past your knee into your calf. And I'm just telling you that just, for whatever. But if you're having trouble with your pants rolling, the only options are to either raise it or lower it to a place where it sits. And I know that's not the ideal answer. And the way you find that out is you sew up a test pair and you go to the grocery store, you get in your car, you get out of your car, you run around and do your errands, because that's how you're going to know it's comfortable. Because when I make a pair of pants and then I get in the car and it's constantly doing this, okay, so I have to fix them. So rise is something that you can fine tune after you see how it fits and feels. So like, do you honestly think you'd feel more comfortable being higher or lower, do you think?
It's hard to say. A lot of my pants do want to roll.
They roll down.
Yeah.
So how would you feel if you made them about an inch lower and they don't roll?
They might be good.
That might be more comfortable. Because otherwise, you're already pretty high. I mean, if you put them up here, that might not be comfortable.
Too much
See, I think if you lower it maybe an inch, and the thing is, you don't have to, like, let's say, show them the front. So see, this is pulling down, but it's okay over here. You can see the stress right here of it wrinkling right here. Can you see that? So start here, lower it a little bit until you get to here. You can have a curve in the front. You don't have to like lower the whole thing. So you can leave the back alone because that's fitting you nice in the back.
I got a big butt.
You have a cute butt. You have a cute butt. You have a lovely behind. And it fits beautiful back there, and the waist is where it should be. So start somewhere here and slowly trim until you're lower in the center front, and then it'll be more comfortable. Well, depending, you might want to start in the back a little bit, go across the side seam. You can't just start at the side seam. You gotta start somewhere where you're adjusting both because the side seam has to stay the same length. I can't just shorten the front and not the back. So you got to go through the side seam a little bit. So you're probably going to start a little bit in the back. Unless you're going from nothing here. You could go from nothing here if it's just a little bit and then go to there. But if you need to take a significant amount off at the side seam, start back here somewhere. Yeah. Well, and the wrinkles will tell you. They'll tell you, yeah. If you have pants that you wear all the time and you hold them up and look, a lot of times the wrinkles that are embedded in the fabric now will tell you that things are wrong. Like if you're getting diagonal wrinkles from here up to here, that means it's too tight. If the rise is too short and it's pulling, you have to like add more length to let this come down. Like sometimes if you pull your side, think about when you pull your side seams up too high and you get these diagonal wrinkles. So you don't have any. That's not. You're fine. I mean, these wrinkles you get from sitting and standing and sitting and standing. Some fabrics just wrinkle. When I wear my blue linen tomorrow, I'm going to be like that, like an Olympic sport. I'm going to iron them for you nice when I come in, and they'll be nice and fresh. But then, by lunchtime, I'm going to look like that because that's what linen does. So, if you don't want wrinkles, you got to get fabric that doesn't wrinkle. But I mean, I just think you could lower that. And actually, I have a tutorial in my Alter Ready to Wear where I show how to shorten the zipper, take the waistband off, shorten the zipper, and then put it back on.
And then I wouldn't have to wear a belt to
Right,
keep it up.
yeah. So that I think would make it much more comfortable for you.
Because I'm always putting on a belt. And then I have to have a
And
skinny
it digs
belt
and it
because
dig
if I
and
get
it
a
digs
too
into
big of a
you.
belt, it hurts.
And it digs into you.
Yeah, it digs
Yeah,
into
yeah. You don't want that. We want it comfortable, ladies. Comfortable. Comfortable. Thank you. Anybody else? Is this fun? All right, I want to make sure you're having. All right, let's see. What do you have for us?
Well, these are purchased.
That's all right. That's okay. Okay, move. Are we off the camera? Oh, no, we're still on the camera. All right, let's see what's going on back here. Okay, so you have fabric under your behind. All right, so look at her lovely behind, okay, and see how she has this fabric here. Okay, so what that means is she has too much. Does it feel comfortable when you sit and everything though? Yeah. Okay, so this can be true. Two things can be true. Your crotch is the right length, but it's not in the right place. Okay, so basically, when you end up with something like this, if I pick this up and give her a wedgie, see how I'm getting rid of that, right? But we don't want to give her a wedgie, so that means to remove the fabric under here, it's a two-part process. You pleat up here, and then you scoop down to maintain the measurement, okay? Now, when we're fitting pants from scratch, we try not to do that because if you keep scooping through your crotch, right, and then you put your pants on, something that can happen, and I can probably make it happen here, You can get these, see these diagonal wrinkles like pointing up like this? If you scoop too much, you make your inseam too short. Because remember, the inseam here has to agree with the side seam here. And the inseam stops here. And if it's too short, it's going to pull everything up like this, right? So the good news is it's easy to fix that. All you do is cut your leg, pivot at the side seam, cut your leg, and spread the inseam the amount you need to let drop it back down. So it's easy to fix, but scooping through the inseam can cause another problem. So that's why I try to fit the crotch, balance the front back leg, get the back crotch, lift the front, which is usually what happens. And then when you lift the front, you're actually lengthening the inseam, so you don't have that problem. Another thing you can try is, I have an adjustment. It's on my channel. Of course, I'm trying to think of the title of the video, and I can't. It's how to remove excess vertical length on the back leg. What you do is, in your muslin, you're going to pleat out, go to 0 here, and you go to 0 on the inseam, and you can do about 1 inch total, right? And then to transfer that to your paper pattern, you need to make a copy of the top of the pattern. So you're making a copy of the waist, the crotch, and maybe 2 inches of the inseam and side seam. Make a copy. Then what you do is, I'm just going to show you on here, you're going to cut down to here, and you're going to pivot. You're going to cut across the leg, but you're going to pivot at the side and inseam, and you're going to cut straight through, and you're going to collapse it down so that it overlaps and gets rid of this. But then what you have is this mess, right? The top of the pattern does this, and it dips down. This is what I was talking about earlier. It dips down. So what you do is you take the copy of the pattern, you put it underneath the adjusted pattern, and you put everything back. You put the crotch, you put the side seam. At the top of the side seam, you go down to where the dip is. The dip stays. And that's another way you can get rid of that. And sometimes it's a combination of lowering the crotch, but then also picking some of it up. Sometimes you have to do both to get rid of that. You're welcome. That was a fun one. Plus you had lighter colored fabric, so that worked out. Yeah, I could be done. Oh, you want me to do you?
So these are
Okay.
just because they're elastic.
Okay. All right. So, yep, you are. You're perfect. All right, face me for a second. All right. So I think this is just a little bit too long here. I think it's hanging down just a little bit too low. Let me see if I do that. Face this way so I can, no, I'm sorry. Face. I just want to see what happens to the back when I work on the front. So if I pick this up. All right, so this is going to be a perfect example. This is why you need 2 mirrors. Ready? If I try to lift up the crotch, look what happens to the back. Is that attractive? No. So you can do it a little bit. Like I can pick out a little bit and get it a little bit closer. See how I'm doing about maybe 1 inch? You can probably get rid of 1 inch without. So I can get rid of 1 inch at center front without messing up the back. See that? So what you would do is you would just pleat across, go to 0 at the side seam. That'll get that to hang a little bit nicer. I think it's just a little bit too low. Right. And then, let me see the back now. Now see, I think the back looks great. Look at that. Oh, turn around to show them. Look at how nice her back looks. She has no wrinkles. No. I just think your front is just a little bit too low. Okay. That's it. Look at the, yeah, I did, yeah, they probably are a little bit long. See, like, so you want them to touch your shoe, but you don't want them to make a big puddle because that messes up. Oh, this is funky.
Well, these are,
The side seam stops right here.
well, actually.
Is that a
it's-
dart?
It's only because I have to put a pocket in.
Oh, that's
These
clever.
are one seam pants.
Do you see the cleverness here? Turn to the side. Look at that. She put a pocket in and she just stopped right there. That's very clever. I like it.
They're really easy to make comfortable. One of the reasons I like these is I am not easy, and the pant leg is big enough that you can't.
So see, if the tube of fabric around your leg has enough ease between your body and the inside of the fabric, then nothing shows. Right? You have to make compromises sometimes. All right. Welcome. Oh, wait a minute. Let me give this back to you. I don't want to have any heavy breathing or something. I don't know. Then maybe we should. Or I don't want to let it get back in my room with me.
Okay, we have a couple of show and tell. Sarah Beth listed, and I think I saw one more person. So why don't we do that, and then we'll take some time to take a break, and actually we can be done then. But don't forget the cookies and lemonade. All right. So yeah, come around this way. Yeah, good idea. This one isn't as loud as the other one. Okay. I'm gonna turn the sound up a tiny bit. Okay. Okay, now this mic's not quite as loud as the other one. Here you go.
So this quilt is called Kristen is tablecloth quilts. Kitchen table quilt, sorry. And I used all, we're in the camera. Something's closer to the camera. There we go. Well, it's just weird. All right. Well, it affects the color. I have a lot of green fabric. Obviously, I've made so many green quilts. But this is green suntan. Let it hang. And then I used the same shadow fabric. And I like the effect of it. I had this backing. I don't like the pinks and stuff that are happening. And I'll let you just grab that. And I put the binding on this today, the same quilt. Well, I don't need to talk. Totally scrappy. Totally scrappy. It was a lot of fun. My cutting table is a pile of mix and matches, but that was the fun part. And I could make each block as I went. And yeah, the back was it looks like retro 60s. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm Connie Korski, and I oscillate between garment sewing, and I've been doing jackets January, February, March, so I decided to switch over to quilting for a little bit. And this one's for my 21-year-old granddaughter. She likes bright colors, and right now she's in Ukraine, and going to serve with the United States Army over there. So I'm hoping that when she comes back, that she can enjoy the quilt. It's that the design is called Midnight Garden. It was really fun because y'all can hear me. Oh, okay. Because the print with the owl, the hedgehog, the moth, the bee, just lent itself to pulling things out of my stash. So everything except the panel and the hummingbird fabric and the owl fabric, she loves owls, is from my stash. Oh Lord, and it didn't even put a tack. It didn't even put a dent in the stash. So the back, I just, these digital prints now that they've got are just gorgeous. And so I really love the way it all turned out. I'm going to hand this edge to you. And then I had one more. So I have a gecko pillow. And what's really fun is they had matching fabric with the gecko fabric in smaller print. So yeah. And this fabric I found at Gall Sewing, they don't carry a lot of fabrics, but sometimes you can find some real gems. So if you're doing the quilt shop hop for Michigan, you'll be seeing this quilt. She asked if I would let her hang it. I said, well, yeah, granddaughter's going to be in Ukraine for a while. So thank you.
Also, there, those of us who had dinner here in this in the hotel, if you still have both receipts, both printed receipts that are not the specific meal that you had, please make sure that you did sign and leave one of the receipts, because 3 of us did not. At least 3 of us did not. So, you know, I mean, anyway, it was an oversight, but anyway, so if you find that, they would appreciate getting it back. But anyway, thank you again all for coming. It was really great to see you. I hope you enjoyed this. There's so much here. It's a good thing that Jen has all this on her YouTube stuff, because it was a lot. Right, right. You can you can come in and set up your stuff if you haven't already at 8 o'clock. No machines on the tables, and we'll begin the class at 8:30. It's in the room down the hall. Okay, 8:30 is when we're starting. So be there before that, so we're all on time. Okay. All right. Thanks again. Oh.